Peace, love, and light, tribe. What's going on? It's your girl Crystal. Let me see if I can get my headphones because sometimes I be having trouble or people have trouble hearing me. So let's kick it old school. Peace, my loves. Hetep blessings. So I wanted to come through. I am home now. I'm home, and I wanted to come through with an update of my trip and talk about my trip. So as you can see, I'm a little under the weather now, and that don't usually happen to me. So today I am fasting, and I'm going to be fasting as long as I need to fast, okay? Because when you are sick, the goal is to get rid of whatever you got as fast as possible, and the best way to do that is to fast. So I'm drinking some mullein and hibiscus tea, and I just been staying hydrated. So let me talk about my trip. I did have to break up two videos because the sightseeing city tour was kind of long, and um, it wasn't allowing me to save the video. So I had to just do my full trip at Atlantis and then just a separate day of my sightseeing city tour. And now this is the full recap because I couldn't add this to my video as well. Right. So um, Bahamas was an amazing trip, and everything happens for a reason. Initially, when I was looking for my international trip, it was going to be between Bahamas and Jamaica. And I was just like, Jamaica had like funny flights. Like their flights was funny. Like 6, 7 hour layovers and like really weird times, and it was costly to get like a okay time even with a one stop. Like they didn't really have any non-stops. If they did have non-stops, you was going to be paying for it. So when I looked at Bahamas had non-stop flights and it was decent times. um the price was still the same. It was give or take like 1400, give or take. I did a 3 night 4 day trip. So um and I would have been paying that for Bahamas or Jamaica. They both was around the same amount, probably like $20 to $60 difference, right? So then I was like, all right, well, because I do not drink alcohol, I didn't stay at a all inclusive resort for adults only, which I wouldn't have mind doing, but it wasn't like a all inclusive, right? Um, Excuse me, it was an all inclusive, so of course alcohol is added to all inclusive. So I'm like, all right, so the reason why I stayed at the Comfort Suites in Paradise Islands because I was between the Riu and Comfort Suites, and I did look at Atlantis too. But Atlantis was overpriced. It just was overpriced for no reason. Like, and with Comfort Suites, you were able to gain the benefits of Atlantis for $1,000 less. Like I think it was like 2,000 plus when I was looking at Atlantis, and that's for all of them. I think Atlantis got 4 to 5 different hotels, but the thing about Atlantis is they're all kind of simultaneously connected, right? So the one that was next to my hotel was Atlantis Coral, but that was right next to Atlantis Royal as well. Once you stepped into like the water park area, right? So they're all connected, but you had the ability to gain access to Atlantis. And when I tell you it's not easy to gain access to Atlantis, right? So you could walk into Atlantis Coral, you could go into the casino, but they got guards like at every post. So past the casino, if you don't got a wristband, they turning you around. They like, oh, you gotta go around. So yeah, that's why I'm grateful that I did ended up doing like that, because as you can see in my video that the Comfort Suites wasn't a bad hotel. It actually wasn't bad. So I'm gonna say a pro and a con. I did like the staff and the people, so I don't want to really like give them a bad review. because it wasn't really bad. My room was just near the ice machine, and that seemed like the gathering spot for all the staff, okay? All the staff would come to the ice machine around 8:30 in the morning every morning. It did not fail, and they'll be talking about whatever they talking about, and that was my alarm clock between them and a little tweet tweet bird outside. Bird was just chirping away, chirp chirp, chirp, chirp chirp, chirp chirp, and yeah, 8:30. It didn't matter if I wanted to sleep in or not. Those was my alarm clocks. Get up, get up, get up. Okay, but other than that, they was cool. Like I was talking to one of the cleaning ladies. Like when I was checking in, it was like a large check-in line, right? People was there for a family reunion, everything. So the rooms wasn't really ready, right? So they had people waiting for rooms and everything. So when I got to the counter, like the initial room that the girl was going to give me wasn't ready. But she was like, all right, give me a second. I'm going to make sure you get a room. So she gave me a room right away. I didn't have to wait. So when I was going upstairs, I seen the cleaning lady. I was like, damn, girl, they got you working hard. Excuse me. So she started laughing. It was so funny, right? But since I said that to her, then the next day I seen her and we was talking. And then like I never get my rooms clean because why? Like I'm 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 not a dirty person, you know what I'm saying? Like if I need something and I see them, I might ask them for what I need. But you don't need to come in my room and make the bed that I'm gonna mess up again. You good. So she always left water outside my door for me. So that was nice of her. But the comfort suites, they had their own thing going on too. They did have a pool, they did have a bar as well. So it was a cool little vibe if you just wanted to stay there. But Atlantis was like literally right there. Like you leave the hotel and you go to Atlantis. Like Atlantis was like really right there, and Atlantis was the place to be. But if you was to go there, this is a tip. Maybe you would want to stay at Comfort Suites. Like I saved $1,000, $800 to $1,000 staying at Comfort Suites than one of the Atlantis properties. But if you want the full Atlantis experience, I understand. But when I was meeting people that had the Atlantis room, they was like, they don't even have a tub. Like it was a stand up shower, and they was like the room ain't even all like that. Um, so the first day I had okay, so another thing. So when I was looking up my trip, I was trying to figure out how I was going to get to the resort. Now you can take a taxi, but the taxis there are heck expensive. They're expensive, the taxis. Um, if I would have took a one-way taxi from the airport to my hotel, it would have been about an $80 to $100 trip. So what I did was I looked online, and I think the website was called Viator, Viator, and I booked a shared ride because they don't have Uber or Lyfts. So I booked a shared ride to get to my hotel. So it was a $41 bill for a round trip. So that was definitely cost efficient. And I think it's Viator. Now, when I was looking up the reviews, as far as the reviews for booking trips, it wasn't so good, but the reviews for like shared rides was cool. And I thought I was going to have a shared ride, but I actually had my own private driver both times. Excuse me. I had my own private driver both times. So I was grateful. You know what I'm saying? And it actually was the same guy that picked me up and dropped me off each time. And like the first time it was like a bus, and then the second time it was like a big Escalade. So it wasn't like, and it was air conditioned. They was cool. They was talking. The driver was vibing with me. Like, I guess it's just my energy, y'all. And I ain't even trying to be cocky. I'm serious. Like, the driver was like saying really sweet things to me, and I was appreciative. That was cool of him. He was married and everything, but that was cool of him. So my first day, when I went there the first day, I knew that day was going to be my like getting to know the area day, right? So it was a market that you could walk to, Dunkin' Donuts, and a couple convenience stores that wasn't far from the hotel. It was like 5-minute walk. Everything excuse me, everything in Paradise Island was quote unquote safe for tourists. Um, so they didn't really mess with you. Um, so the thing about Atlantis is you had a certain time frame to get your wristband for the day, right? So basically, I got there like around 3ish. I had until 4:30 to go get my wristband in order for me to enter the Atlantis Park. Um, Now it's from 10 to 4:30 every day. I think she said open at 9, like their kiosks open at 9:30, but you can't get into Atlantis until 10. They open at 10. So that kiosk for you to get your wristband opens from 9:30 to 4:30. But to gain access to Atlantis, it was 7 a.m. to, excuse me, 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. every day. That's just what it was. They closed at 7 o'clock. So I was like, that kind of sucked because everything closed. The beach closed, the rides closed, everything closed at 7. Like, that's crazy to me. Like, people spending all this money and you can't even be on the beach after a certain time. And it's summertime, so it's still light outside, you know? So, that kind of was the sucky thing about that, but it was something to do, right? So with all inclusive, you probably go there with your babe or whatever and drink, and chill and whatever the resort got, right? With Atlantis, it was so many different things that you could do. So I checked out the scene and I kept, the taxi driver told me that it was their independence ceremony, which was Junkanoo as well as the police ceremony. So I did initially want to go to both. The police ceremony started like around 8 o'clock, where like the police would do different tricks and stuff and march and sing. And like if you never got to experience it, they was like it's a good experience. And then they had fireworks towards the end. And then after that was Junkanoo. So I'm like, realistically, I'm going to be tired. So I could do one or the other. So I opted for Junkanoo. And I'm happy I did. I did see a little bit of the police ceremony on their TV. They had it on TV the next day when I was chilling. I seen a little bit of that. So Junkanoo was a great experience. They had the Junkanoo for the Independence Celebration on July 9th. They have it on December 26th and on January 1st. Now, they kept telling me that the July 9th one was practice, whereas though the December and the January one is more so what it really is because they're competing to win a prize. So, and they say it's bigger. And I was like, well, shoot, if that's the case, I had a great experience for practice because I only seen 4 bands because I got there at midnight, but it ain't start till 2 a.m. So when I got there at midnight, it was really kind of ghost town. It was like a few people out. The vendors was out, so it was people selling platters and like different like tool like what is it called? Like they had the headbands, the whistles, like souvenirs or whatever. So I got a flag, I got the light up cat ears, and I got a whistle. And I'm upset I didn't get the whistle with the Bahamas lantern on there. I got the one just with the beaded lantern because when I seen her, I already bought a whistle, so I wasn't gonna buy two. Um, so I was walking around, and then I seen the spot where I wanted to sit at, and then I came back to that spot, and it was this guy sitting there. He was by himself too, so I just decided to talk to him. And he was there with his fiance, but his fiance didn't want to stick around for Junkanoo. So we kind of was just looking out for each other on some cool type energy. Like he took care of me, and I'm grateful for that, for real, for real. Like and he didn't stay at my hotel. He stayed at a different hotel, but it was close near my hotel. So I was like, all right, well, look, we both by ourselves. We both from the States. Whenever we ready to go, we could just split a taxi, you know? So, and like, as a solo traveler, you definitely gotta use your intuition and trust the vibes you get. And like, the boy was cool. So I was okay. I felt okay around him. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, all right. So we stayed for we stayed like until 3:30. I know. We got there at 2. It started at 2. We stayed until 3:30. And we only seen 4 bands. Forgive me, y'all. I'm trying. I'm doing my best to beat this, John. It happened yesterday. It started coming like the symptoms started coming about yesterday. Anyway, so when we decided to leave, I was like, all right, well, we had to walk because there was like the taxis right on the back street. It was no taxi in sight. So he was like, oh, well, I just came from such and such. They might have a taxi there. So I said, all right. So we went there and they did have a taxi for us. So, long story short, bro paid for the taxi for me too. I got dropped off first, then he got dropped off, and he paid for the taxi. So that was sweet of him. That was cool. So then next day, I only was on 4 hours of sleep. I told you I had a wake up call at 8:30 each day. So I was on 4 hours of sleep the next day, and I decided to go to the resort. So I said, all right, I'm gonna just go to the resort and see what's up with Atlantis. So I did like the water activities. I did the slides. I did the lazy rapid river. I went to the beach. I was going to go to their independence ceremony, but it got rained out, unfortunately. And I knew it was going to be a good ceremony if they had it, but it got rained out on. We can't do nothing about when Mother Nature comes, right? Um, Now, the only thing I kept eating was field trip. So I'm a vegan, y'all. You follow my channel, you know that. So field trip is natural food. So they had like rice bowls, but they had meat too. So they had stuff for everybody, like salmon, chicken, beef. Then they had like the vegan option. So they had two different vegan options, which I was appreciative of, okay? Because when I tell you that it was hard to find vegan options, when I tell you it was hard, it was hard. Like I couldn't even trust the fruit cups that they had there because they just looked like it was fruit cups that nobody was eating that they kept putting out each day. And Comfort Suites did have a continental breakfast that you had to go there, I think, from either 7 to 10 or 8 to 10. But I will always wake up like around 10 o'clock, so I kept missing it. So if I did get a chance to go there, I did see that they had like cut up cantaloupe. But other than that, like, it wasn't really much that I could eat. Like, I literally kept going to field trip the whole time. Um, so we got rained out on. So then on Thursday, I went into town. I wanted to do a city tour. So initially, I was going to do like one of their excursions. But because it was the day of, it was already booked. So she was like, oh, well, you could call a taxi and see if the taxi is willing to take you around town. So I said, all right. So that's what I did. I called the taxi. They charged me $60 an hour to take me around town, which wasn't bad because at first I was just going to do an hour, but when we got to the Queen Elizabeth staircase, it was a wrap. So I just said, all right, well, we could do 2 hours. So on the city tour, he just took me around, like, he showed me the slums and everything. He took me around and we seen a little bit of everything. Like, he took me to the Queen Elizabeth staircase, and that was interesting. It was nice. At the top, they had vendors there. So I bought a couple souvenirs. They had coconut. Excuse me. They had coconut. So the coconuts up there was more like juicy, as well as cheaper than the ones on the resort. The coconut on the resort was $20 just for the coconut, not with anything in it, just for the coconut. And I said, "You tripping?" He's like, "Well, what do you want to pay?" I said, $5 to $7. He like, "All right, give me 10." So we made a deal. I got that and a juice from home for 15 or whatever. But when I went to the Queen Elizabeth staircase, the guy was selling them for 6 or 2 for 10, which makes more sense. Okay. So I got me a coconut water and I was trying to drink it before I went back on my in my taxi. So then he took me to a fort. He showed me like two different forts. The Queen Elizabeth staircase actually shot off a cannon, which was interesting. I didn't get that on film because I wasn't near it when it got shot off, but I heard it. Um, he showed me. We went to like this little row where the chocolate factory was at, and you'll see it on my sightseeing, John. But he, he hooked me up. I'll say he showed me a couple of things. I was satisfied with it, and The taxi drivers is actually cool. Like I ain't have a problem with any of my taxi drivers. So then I told him that I wanted him to drop me off at Fish Fry. So Fish Fry is this like location that everybody know about. Um, it's not far from the hotel either. If you decide to want to walk, I mean, I ain't going. I don't know exactly how far it was, but it was probably at least 20 minutes if you decide to walk. But Fish Fry was a place where they had different restaurants, and they only had one place where they had like I would say four vegan options. So initially, I was going to settle for that place, right? So I was going to settle for that place, and I mean, they had cauliflower bites, but I ain't really care to eat there, right? You know how you get a vibe from something? I'm just like, you know what? I'm going downtown. So I got a taxi to go downtown. Now I'm gonna tell you how much these taxis cost too. So I got a taxi to go downtown, and I was downtown trying to find some vegan food too, and I only found frozen fries. And beggars can't be choosers, right? So I wanted to make sure I got back to Atlantis before I didn't get my wristband early in the day, so I wanted to make sure I got back to Atlantis before 4:30, so I could get my wristband. Excuse me, to gain access to the park. So downtown was cool though. I went to the straw market. That's like one of their big markets. Now a lot of vendors had the same thing, so it's all about the energy, right? So I got me a little bag, and that was just my sightseeing day. So from Queen Elizabeth staircase, I got some shirts. From I got a shirts and a wooden shot glass. I don't even drink, but I collect shot glasses. It's so weird. Um, and I got my name engraved on that one too. And downtown, I went to the straw market and got a few things too. Um, Now they didn't have any vegan options downtown, as I said. So what I noticed is that if I wanted to do anything vegan, then I would have to have book a day to go to like a vegan spot in the Bahamas and have their food and then get a taxi back because they were near and few. They were spaced out. It wasn't like walking distance to any of my points. When I was downtown, I seen one that said 5 minutes, but I was 5 minutes driving, 35 minutes walking. So I said, dang, guess I ain't going there because it was about to close. So the taxi ride. So my first taxi ride, mine is like the share ride. The share ride was $41 to get back and forth to the resort. My first taxi ride was to go down to Junkanoo. That was like $25. And then I took a taxi during a sightseeing day. So it was 120 for the sightseeing taxi, and then the other guy charged me from Fish Fry to downtown. The guy charged me $22. No, he charged me $15. And from downtown back to the resort, I got charged $22. So after that, I ain't take no more taxis. But you can see it was a bit overpriced, right? So the trip was just overpriced. It was just overpriced. Like you was getting charged gratuity and everything in Atlantis. Tax and gratuity, everything in Atlantis. I'm trying to think. Um, it was just like a money pit in my opinion because, like I said, I had to eat. All inclusive. Yeah, they would have had food like a buffet, but still, I'm vegan, so I'm selective in general. So I paid for the food, so I went to field trip. Field trip was like $37 almost each day, $37-$40 each day. Um, they had like this pizza place that I bought like a side salad from. Um, yeah, I'll say I was spending money on food. Um, and like I was buying a little bit of junk food too. That's probably why I'm under the weather because I wasn't taking care of my health like that. But it wasn't easy. Like every day in my everyday life, I usually eat a smoothie or fresh fruit in the morning. I haven't had one piece of fruit since I was in Bahamas. So as soon as I came back to my city, I made sure I made a smoothie. um, but yeah, so um, if you like meat, no doubt, like their conch is their signature meal. It's like sea snail. So conch everything is there. If you like meat, it's there. But if you're a health conscious person, it's not there. So you gonna have to figure it out. So the last day after sightseeing, I decided to go to Club Aura. Club Aura was a cool club. It literally had like all types of music, throwback music, new school music, different genres. Um, these two girls adopted me. They kept telling me how beautiful I was. I was getting hit on a lot at Club Aura by women and by men. Um, and they like adopted me, so they was my friends for the night or whatever. Um, this one guy tried to talk to me, but I was looking at him like, boy, you mixing and mingling. Like, don't play with me. But we were just cool. We was cool. Like, after the club, me and him was just talking and vibing out. And when I'm a when in Rome type of person when I'm on vacation, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just here to just have a good time and to meet people. If the connection stick, it stick. If it don't, it don't. Because I'm on vacation. So it's not like I'm really, you know, it's whatever. I'm on vacation. I'm just having a good time. Um, So Club Aura was cool. So the next day I ended up going home and I left. My flight was 10. No, I left the hotel around 10, but my flight was until 2, but it was delayed because my city was having bad weather. So okay, so I'm grateful I got here safely. But it was so weird the last day because like the taxi driver that actually drove me there, he was literally like, if I wasn't married, girl, I'm like, you married though, so we ain't gonna say if you wasn't. Okay. And then when I get to the airport, I'm in a custom line. This brother literally like was on some freak vibes with me. It was kind of like, what the F? Like, why are you like coming at me like that? But he was just on some freaky type time. He like, you could come to Orlando. He was a Bohemian. And he was like, you could come to Orlando with me. I'll pay for your ticket. Come upstairs and just change your ticket and just have a good time. You look like you adventurous. But then he started talking sexual, and I'm just like, bro, I'm not doing that. Like, no thanks. It was so weird. But all in all, Bahamas was cool. Atlantis was cashless, so if you go to Atlantis, just remember that it's cashless. I thought it wasn't, but I made it do. So Atlantis was cashless. They do take the U.S. dollar. It's dollar to dollar, so you don't have to exchange your money, but just be aware if you go to like outside shops, they might give you Bahamian money versus the US dollar. It's not really vegan friendly, like I know Jamaica could have been, like because they have more idol foods, but um, the vibes was really cool. I got a lot of love from locals as well as people from the states that I met, and I was grateful for that. And if you do travel, I noticed that a lot more things to do is during the weekend. So they might have a lot more going on during the weekend versus during the week. So if you wanted to take advantage of like the activities that they got, it might be good for you to travel on the weekend versus during the week. Um, if you ever get a chance to go again during their independence time, is from July 9th. The Independence Day is the 10th, but the 9th is when they have Junkanoo if you didn't want to go in the winter. And that one was free. I think they said the other ones you had to pay. Um, but yeah, it was a good trip. And as a solo vacationer, I approve of it. I felt safe. I felt at home. I felt love. And I had a good time. This year I went to New Orleans and Bahamas. Um, I don't know if I'm booking another trip. I'm trying to move. So we'll see. But I had a great vacation, the vacations I had so far. If you ever been to Bahamas, comment below and write your experience or any types of tips and tricks that you that you could give someone else that might be going to this island, whether you're vegan or non-vegan. Just, each everybody have their own story and their own opinion. So yeah, I didn't do any excursions. I ain't have time for that. I ain't had time to do an excursion. So what I did, I was grateful that I did, and I was happy. So at the end of the day, I had a good time. But all right, y'all. Peace.